I thank you for bringing this to my attention. Major trigger warning in this video. What I am discussing involves rape, abuse, and just incredibly traumatic events that happened to a 12-year-old girl. Trigger warning right there. And now, just sit back and let me tell you about what happened to Brooke Bennett in Vermont. I'm just gonna lift up my notes here if I can. Sorry for the noise. I'm sorry. Okay. Sorry if you can see the weird glow beneath me. Brooke Bennett was only 12 years old when she went missing in the summer of 2008 in Randolph, Vermont. She was a basketball player, a lacrosse player, and she had just finished 7th grade. On June 25th, 2008, Brooke Bennett was last seen when a family member had dropped her off at a Cumberland Farms in Randolph, Vermont. Police investigated the convenience store and the film and were able to verify Brooke arriving and leaving the store with her uncle named Michael Jakes. They both left the Cumberland Farms together, but Brooke went left, and he went right. Michael Jakes went right. According to police, a friend was supposed to pick Brooke up from the convenience store and bring her to Dartmouth Hitchcock Medical Hospital to visit the friend's relative in the hospital. Brooke was not there when the friend arrived. Police began their search in the immediate area and closed several roads. Authorities released to the public this very information and also that Brooke was wearing a pink shirt or a pink sweater, pink shirt, blue jeans, and white sneakers with pink letters on them. On June 26th, Vermont issued its first Amber Alert. First Amber Alert. Bear with me, guys, as I just adjust my notes here. Okay. On June, excuse me. Jakes, Brooke's uncle that I mentioned earlier, who was last seen with her, was arraigned on charges of sexual abuse involving another relative of his. This relative is known to the public and in court records as J1. J1, J1, J1. When investigators caught wind of this, their shift went from this unknown individual on MySpace to her uncle. Investigators interviewed J1 and they learned that for years she had been sexually abused by Jakes and offered to play part in a sex ring called Breckenridge. 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 In fact, not only was the friend picking her up a ruse, but just the plot thickens. The MySpace messages were fake. They were fake and they were intentionally scripted to throw police off. J1 had lured Brooke to go to Michael Jakes' house with them. They had went their separate ways out of Cumberland Farms, but this J1 and Michael Jakes looped around and picked her up on the other side and said, come on, come hang out with us. And Brooke went. So J1 was used to make this crime happen. Once they got to the house, J1 remembers watching TV with Brooke, I believe, and then Brooke going to a bedroom with her uncle, their uncle, I assume, and she was ordered to leave. The public now became aware that Jakes was a suspect and a person of interest on June 30th, 2008. Authorities pleaded publicly that if there were anyone out there that may have been a victim of this sex ring or had been in contact with Jakes, that they please come forward and talk to authorities. They wanted to listen to survivors and victims and be advocates for any other people that may have been impacted and involved with this sex ring. On July 2nd, 2008, Brooke's body was found covered in dirt a mile from Jake's home. Now, I don't know if I mentioned this. I might have glossed over this. Maybe I didn't write it down. But they did search his home, which is where they found child pornography, and they found the evidence that he was taking part in these scripted messages on Brooke's MySpace, which is just wild to me and just horrible. So the plot thickens with this too. So they found Brooke's body on July 2nd, 2008, such as that. And he was indicted on kidnapping resulting in death and 4 charges of child pornography. But a trial would not happen for 6 years. Now, before I get into kind of why the trial was a bit stalled and delayed and there was a lot going on, I also want to mention Ray Gagnon. Ray Gagnon was Brooke's ex-stepfather. He was charged with obstruction of justice and counts of child pornography during this investigation. Now, he wasn't charged, he was indicted, maybe is the word I'm looking for. He was indicted on charges of obstruction of justice, but he wasn't charged with them. He did not get in trouble for that. He did get in trouble for the child pornography. He went to jail for 17 years for that, but he played a part in this Breckenridge sex ring, or these, this assaulting of minors in some shape or form. And from what I gathered, the obstruction of justice and was just blown, like mind blown, when I'm like, this girl's uncle is preying upon her, has killed her, preyed upon another relative, and like now her ex-stepfather is somehow like, what, like, it's wild. So back to a little bit of why the case was stalled for so long. The courts, the government's main witness was this minor J1, and there was a lot of back and forth because she was a victim, but she also played a part in bringing Brooke to the house where she was killed. Now, there was just a lot of articles talking about, victims' rights and, trying to be as they were trying to be as prolific with the case, but also be incredibly sensitive to the fact that this young witness was a victim. No ifs, ands, or buts. She was a victim of Michael Jakes. And I found one article in particular where Brooke's father was pretty upset at how long the case had been taking. I am not a grieving father. I have not lost my child to a relative who raped, drugged, and killed my daughter. I don't know what that's like. I don't. So I'm sure he was angry and upset and mad, but he was incredibly frustrated that J1 was being cared for so gingerly through this process. He felt that, Brooke never got a chance to go to high school. She never got her senior year, and the government and the FBI and the authorities, like everybody, did I say the FBI? I don't think FBI was involved in this. Whoa, calm down. But police, they wanted to protect this witness and get this witness through, their senior year, and they were still a minor at this time. Like, there was a lot going on. And yeah, basically, Brooke's father was very bitter about it, and I pulled a quote out that said, if I can find it, he said, I don't like how they've made all of this about J1. There's a big delay because she was a minor in high school. Brooke never got her senior year. She never finished high school. Now this J1 is one of the big reasons why they don't want to go to trial. They don't want to make her testify. Sorry, but at some point she is a victim, and at another point she is involved. I can't imagine what this family was going through, and like the turmoil and the drama that was transpiring for this family at this time. So yeah, for 6 years this went on and back and forth because they did not want to make this young woman testify. She had been through so much. Oh. I am so sorry. That was so loud. Oh my god. Maybe I can edit this out. Well, if I don't, I'll just put a timestamp that there's like a loud noise. So yeah. Bear with me. Technical difficulties. They did not want her to testify. So, this is why, one of the reasons why the trial had gone on for so long. So for 6 years, this was happening. And, of course I can't get back into my computer, guys. Bear with me. Oh my god, most unorganized ASMR artist ever. But isn't that what kind of makes things tingly and a little bit better? I don't know. Maybe that's me. Okay, so I'm going to read a little bit from an article that I found. And it's a really well-written article. So I'm gonna kind of just read verbatim a little bit here, if that's okay with you. Okay. It's been nearly 6 years since 12-year-old Brooke Bennett was raped and murdered. On May 21st, 2014, her mother, Cassandra Adams, Jakes finally was given the opportunity to speak oh my god. Guys, bear with me. Okay. So, she had positioned herself next to the witness stand. This is Brooke's mother, directly opposite the defendant's table, where Jakes, her former brother-in-law, sat. Her anger spilled out. "You're a monster and you're a pig." Jakes, 48, pleaded guilty to his niece's August 2008 killing during a hearing on Tuesday in the U.S. District Court in Burlington. He was formally sentenced life in prison plus 70 years without hope for parole. And then it kind of goes on to talking about the people in the Bennett and otherwise family that wanted to speak to Jakes. And I believe his ex-mother-in-law or something to that effect had said, "I hate you, I can't wait to spit on your grave." This was a very, very, very emotional case. And I wanted to read what Jakes had said in court that day. He said, "I am guilty. I alone am the reason why you feel pain today, and for that I am sorry. And I am ashamed." And when when the judge handed down the sentencing, he said that this was unspeakable horror and grotesque brutality. And so the courtroom was packed, and everybody was incredibly pleased with the verdict. And when Jakes finally paid for this crime, but Brooke paid the ultimate sacrifice. In Brooke's honor and memory, a year after her death, the Vermont governor signed a bill called Brooke's Law, or like this piece of legislation, where people that have been sex offenders before or have committed sex crimes are held to a much higher degree of standards, and they're not as easily swept under the rug or thrust back into society. And this is exactly what happened with Michael Jakes. He was a sex offender. He was convicted in 1993 of doing some horrific assault, I believe, on like a 17-year-old. And he had a rap sheet of petty crimes and child pornography, and this just kept building. But he kept going on parole, off parole, on parole, off parole, and it just kept going and kept going and kept going. And even still, when this happened with Brooke, it took 6 more years to finally put the nail in the coffin, so to speak. Horrifically well-deserved. And, give Brooke the justice that she deserved. So Brooke's Law is in place to not make it so easy for people like Michael Jakes to just slip under the cracks, and it is to protect the victims. We made it, you guys. We made it. I am so sorry about the computer just smashing, apparently. Thank you again, Chloe. Excuse me. Thank you again, Chloe, for bringing this case to my attention. I really encourage you to do research on this. I know I say that after every case, but this one's really cool because you can really, sorry for that zombie mouth sound, you can really just see how the case went one direction to another, and how things just started to unravel, and the evidence that was found. And thankfully this was all resolved quickly, but many other states, and she goes and speaks in various places